Welcome to the Planeswalker Project.
So perhaps my favorite of this year's pre-con decks is the Dragon Tribal one. Dragons are simply awesome. They're perhaps the most popular tribe in all of Magic, and we've seen them on nearly every plane we visited. And now, at the peak of the new Commander season, we are getting a Commander pre-con featuring the Fire Breathers themselves. And while the go-ins are still good, we're going to take a look at the top cards I recommend snagging up to help upgrade the Commander 2017 pre-con deck. Fair warning, as with all of my videos up to this point surrounding the cards I recommend for the pre-cons, there are no official spoilers at the time of this recording available outside of the leaks that we got early in the year, so we're not going to be recommending those cards as they're very likely to appear in the deck. In addition, any of the cards featured in this video may also turn out to be in the pre-con, so keep that in mind as you do your early Christmas shopping. Starting off this list is perhaps my favorite dragon, the one I keep harping about, and it's an absolute must for this deck, Utvara Hellkite. This is perhaps the best dragon to synergize with the Dragon. Whenever we swing with the dragon, it creates a 6/6 dragon token. This is going to snowball very quickly as we have more dragons coming after opponents. It also creates a really potent defense strategy. Swinging in with our dragons normally would leave us vulnerable to a counterattack, but for every dragon that attacks, we get another one to defend us on the turn. Next is Crux of Fate. In almost all commander battles, one of the most crucial strategies are your board wipe assortment. And since we're going to be in all 5 colors, we have access to every card in the game. But when we look at our Wrath effects, Crux of Fate is perhaps the best for our deck. It kills anything that isn't a dragon, so our board's going to remain relatively unscathed, and everything else goes poof. This thing is a bulk rare right now, so get with the shopping and grab this while you can. Balefire Dragon is next on our list. This is a card that I have my doubts of seeing in the pre-con due to its price tag of about $14. Of course I could be wrong and it shows up, but it brings with it a ton of value. This is the kind of threat that opponents have to immediately start working on removing. If it gets just one unblocked hit in an opponent, their board can easily be destroyed because 6 damage does a lot to the fields of creatures. Now, while these 2 next cards aren't quite dragons, their utility in Dragon Tribal decks is very much there. Dragon Speaker Shaman and the Dragon Lord Servant. The problem in having such a high curve deck like dragons is getting the mana up to drop these huge bomb creatures. These 2 creatures both lower the cost of casting your dragon spells, and while individually the 2 don't reduce it by much on their own, together they can lower your card's casting cost by 3 mana. So, with something like Deathbringer Regent, which normally costs 7 mana, suddenly you can cast it for only 4 mana, making it better than most of the other board wipes because you get a dragon afterwards. Now, the thing I love the most about 5-colored decks is having access to every Planeswalker in existence. I personally feel, though, that for this deck, Sarkhan Unbroken is our best bet, because he has the ability to ramp, he gives us tokens, and of course his silly ultimate, which more often than not, you're gonna have to fight your opponents tooth and nail to get that to go off. Oh, you know, I'll just get every dragon from my library into play, no big deal. Okie dokie. Now, the thing with this pre-con that I feel will make some degree of trouble is that its mana base is going to be very expensive to optimize. And while I don't quite know how well the budget mana base the deck will come with will be, dragons are very high on the mana curve, so we're going to need our mana to be on point for this deck. So, with a lot of hesitation, my best suggestion for preparations for this pre-con, and only if you truly want this to be like your commander deck, are shock lands and fetch lands. 5-color commander decks need color fixing more than any other deck, and shock lands and fetches together can offer you the best mana fixing capabilities among your lands. If you manage to run all 10 shock lands, which I understand is a very pricey investment if you don't already have them, any one of the fetch lands from either Khans of Tarkir or Zendikar can get you any color mana you need due to each of the shocks having 2 basic land types and each of the fetch lands going after 2 land types. I really hate to say though that the dragon deck will definitely be the most expensive deck to optimize just based on the mana base alone. You could go wild and include the original dual lands, filter lands, all those crazy like $800 worth of lands. But rent isn't cheap, and not eating only gets you so far in saving money before the insanity kicks in. So in terms of upgrades to a mana base, I personally say that just for now, the shock lands and at least the cons fetches, which are the cheaper of the two batches, will suffice for a more reasonable upgrade in that regard. But just keep in mind though, we don't know what this mana base is going to look like just yet. I have no idea what to expect for what they're going to include, so just keep that on the back burner for now. And that's going to wrap up our list of the recommendations for what you should get right now for the Dragon Tribal Commander deck. By snagging up some of the cards that we talked about today, you'll be able to better modify your precon immediately should it not already have some of these cards, and you'll make it all the better. I hope you enjoyed this video. This video is made in part thanks to the amazing patrons over at our Patreon. If you'd like to help support the show directly and help us work towards becoming one of the best Commander channels on YouTube, consider becoming a patron today. And with that, I will see you all at the beginning of the next upkeep.